Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. Is somebody blocking Claressa Shields' success? Or is it her? Or is it a combination of her with her attitude and then being with Papoose, who wants to control everything she does and to make sure that all the money stays in-house? If I can't get any, then you can't get any. What happened to this right here?
This is for couples only. Who's the most fun in the relationship? Who makes the food in the relationship? Who's the most talented? Who's the most adventurous in the relationship? Who spends the most money in the relationship? Who's the best kisser? Who smells the best? Who loves the most? Who gives the best massages in the relationship? Last question, who will be the first to die in the relationship?
Did Claressa look happier when she was, with this guy? So my thing is, when I look at that, right, I see Claressa smiling. Doesn't seem that anyone's holding her back from being herself. Now, this is the thing. A lot of questions, a lot of conversation going on right now. It's like a mystery about Claressa Shields, but not her talent. The mystery is not about the accomplishments or ability, even the attitude, because we already know what that's about. But people are really starting to ask, why isn't someone this accomplished even bigger? Now, I've been asking it for a while. You know what I'm saying? Everyone knows that. But I'm starting to hear other people talk about these things. And I'm like, well, it's good. And they're talking about the same thing I've been talking about, the accomplishments, part of American sports history. But instead, the conversation surrounding Claressa has really centered on the controversy instead of opportunities. This has some fans out here wondering whether the people around her are helping maximize her potential, or whether her circle has become too small. Again, I'll say this. Nobody outside the inner circle truly knows what happens behind closed doors. But the broader discussion about athlete management is worth exploring. She was over there fighting in the UK. She just seemed to be going a different direction. Now, I remember, she still had the attitude and was out there, the Layla Ali and stuff like that. But again, that was more Claressa just, being who she is. But no one took her serious because she ain't really turn up with the nonsense until she hooked up with Papoose. And I really think that the reason why Claressa hasn't expanded her horizon is because, I'll just put it this way, some managers want complete control. And that's what I think is going on here. Now, I am not sitting aside her bad behavior and poor decision-making. Okay? We all agree on that. But we're digging a little bit deeper now. Because in sports, not every manager prioritizes growth the same way. The best managers focus on expansion. Others become obsessed with control. Those are two different things. Expansion means more relationships, more partnerships, more media opportunities, more sponsorships, more visibility, more networking. Control, now listen to this now. Fewer choices, fewer relationships, limited access, limited outside influence, dependence on one individual. What's that sound? Who's that sound like to you? You see, and this is dangerous because it sounds to me like that's what's going on with Claressa, her and, Papoose. And it almost sounds the same way it was Remy Ma was describing how he was. You know what I mean? Gorilla glued to her nuts. And when I look at this, I'm like, yo, this shit is dangerous. Because that control that we're seeing, it can be mistaken for protection when Claressa feels she's being protected. Now, a manager may genuinely believe they're protecting an athlete or convince them that they're doing it. But what happens is, over time, where a fighter feels that I'm being protected, what ends up happening is they realize that this person doesn't have my best interest in mind, and I'm here in isolation with no one around me, and I'm lonely, and my career hasn't gone anywhere. But the talk is sounding good, but they're talking the talk, but they're not walking the walk. And that, to me, is Claressa Shields in a nutshell. There's nothing going on. Now, if she announces some big deal, I mean, great. But I mean, she just announced something there, about the $8 million. But I mean, none of us really taking that serious. But if they come with something, I mean, we'll say, okay, the isolation she benefited from. But at the same time, what it seems at the moment is the isolation is hurting her. Most successful athletes rarely build their careers through one person. They build networks. This is just people, period. You got to have a healthy network, and you have to build good relationships. Every major sports star has relationships with media figures, sponsors, broadcasters, community leaders, promoters, former athletes, business executives. Just think about that. Media figures, sponsors, broadcasters, community leaders, promoters, former athletes, business executives. What have they done with Claressa Shields over there? Has she built those relationships, or have they burnt bridges? And she's just been basically put on an island by herself, like Tom Hanks in Castaway, with that goddamn volleyball Wilson. But I always joke when I say that, but I say instead of the volleyball, you got the boxing glove. Yeah. You know what I mean? Everlast! Everlast! But the issue here is every relationship creates opportunities, and we're not seeing that. Every opportunity creates income, and, we're not so sure about that. And every income source creates security after retirement. Only thing we hear about is YouTube. Because trust me, if there was something else going on, she would have said it. She would have been said it. So when an athlete becomes isolated like Claressa Shields, at least this is how it looks on the outside looking in, those opportunities shrink. The athlete may not even realize how much business is being left on the table, which I don't think she realizes. But I've been talking about this shit for the longest, so she can't say, I know she watches some of the videos. She can't say she ain't heard it before. But this is the thing. There's a danger of turning everyone into an enemy, like what she's done. And I'm going to just say this. One criticism that we've raised regarding Shields is that she seems to be involved in disputes with a growing number of people, from fans to the upper echelon of boxing. Perception matters. When you have athletes developing public issues with fighters, media members, promoters, influencers, former supporters, former athletes, people eventually stop asking what happened, who started the conflict. They start noticing how often conflict appears. And this becomes a branding problem because sponsors don't invest in championships alone. Sponsors invest in public image. What has Papoose and that team done with Claressa's public image? They've trashed it. Now, my thing is, I think Clarissa's been encouraged to fight every battle, to start battles. This is where shit becomes really interesting for me. Because I'm just out here trying to imagine a manager who believes criticism should always be confronted and controversy should be promoted. Every time somebody says something, respond. Every time someone disagrees, challenge them. Someone criticizes you, attack them. Call into their show. You see, at first, it may feel empowering, but the shit becomes exhausting. And that's what's happening with Claressa Shields. Because now you have an athlete who's spending more time defending themselves than promoting themselves. They don't even talk about the sport. Claressa don't talk, she didn't say nothing about boxing anymore. So instead of growing the audience, they're arguing with it constantly. And that strategy does not work long term. Now, some may be saying, okay, well, if Papoose trying to make money, the team's trying to make money, what's going on here? How are they benefiting? Well, I think a manager can benefit from dependency. And this is a difficult conversation in sports. I've heard different people talk about it. Teddy Atlas, Max Kellinger. You get different people who've touched upon managers, boxing, especially what's going on with Zuffa boxing and Turkey Al-Sheikh and the sanctioning bodies. There's a lot of conversations about promoters, managers, etc. You see, sometimes managers become more valuable when the athlete depends entirely on them. That's what it sounds like Claressa Shields' situation is. The fewer outside relationships an athlete has, the more influence the manager possesses. So now you got the manager who becomes an advisor, gatekeeper, negotiator, public relations representative, strategist. The person who controls everything, sells the ship, and they eventually have the fighter saying stuff like, I do what he says. Whatever he says goes. I don't, whatever he mean, please. So that gives that manager enormous power. But the problem is it can also create enormous limitations, which is what's happened to Claressa Shields. And I do think there's a lot of money left on the table because y'all know I like to say they're picking low-hanging fruit over there. I just think Claressa Shields, although she had a bad attitude and she disrespected a lot of people, I don't think she would have been in this position had she not hooked up with Papoose. Because she would make a little comment here and there about Layla's jealous and Layla's this, but and her and Baumgartner had a little stuff. And she Katie Taylor and but it was more nobody really like we noticed it like this shit's annoying, but nobody really cared. But still, before all of this bullshit, a lot of us felt she should have been earning far more outside the ring. But if she wouldn't have gone this direction, being the villain, I think Claressa would have been making more money. I think there would have been some opportunities. And when I say that, it's not because of sympathy, because of marketability. Because I'm gonna say it again, some people joke, oh, she went to MMA, she got her ass whipped. Man, that's a totally different discipline. Claressa was going the right direction, dominating women's boxing, going to MMA, and she was 1-on-1, but expanding, growing her profile and attracting a new audience, but she was respected. I think if she would have stayed dual-headed, I think Claressa, her marketability would have shot through the roof. But Papoose told her to knock that off. He came in and stopped that shit. Control, isolation. So that's why when we talk about her and her accomplishments, and we sit back and try to examine this relationship between her and Papoose, we're like, her accomplishments alone should have opened doors to corporate partnership, sports commentary, which she was doing at the time. She was doing it. Broadcasting, public speaking, brand endorsements, community initiatives, women's empowerment campaigns. And remember, if she wouldn't have turned up the heat with the nonsense with Layla Ali, because Papoose got involved and they were trying to do a money grab, they used her. These are the facts. I don't think if she would have never turned up and gone that direction, Layla wouldn't have paid her no attention. She was ignoring her all along anyway. It's just Claressa turned the heat up and got ridiculous and super disrespectful. Papoose is behind that, y'all. So that's why there are no doors have opened because of her accomplishments. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Those opportunities, I highlight them because she should have been able to capitalize, but controversy dominated the conversation when it comes to Claressa Shields. So what ended up happening is every day she spent fighting online. It was a day she wasn't spending building business relationships. As a result, she didn't build any business outside of boxing, and she's here isolated. And there's a long-term legacy risk that she played with, and I already think long-term her legacy has been trashed. That's just how I feel. It's my opinion. You see, people keep talking about athletes in their prime. It's what happens after their prime. The biggest danger is what happens after retirement. Look at Terrence Crawford. This man's in Tanzania. He got something he got going on over there in Japan. Just brought Ryan Garcia over there. Roy Jones ended up going over there to Russia. I mean, you look at Katie Taylor's in Ireland. I'm sure Katie Taylor could go anywhere and do whatever she wants after she retires. Amanda Serrano, same thing. Not Claressa. Not Claressa. I just don't see it. You see, every champion stops fighting at some point in time. You just can't do it forever. Then relationships become everything. The people you work with become important. The bridges you built become important. The reputation you created becomes important. Athletes who maintain strong industry relationships often transition smoothly into the next chapter. Look at Sean Porter. Look at Layla Ali. You know what I'm saying? Two great examples, male and female. But athletes who spend years burning bridges sometimes discover there's nowhere left to go. And I think that's what she's going to realize. And I think she's going to realize that Papoose ain't going to be nowhere around. Whatever they got going on, that shit ain't going to last forever. If it does, I'll say I was wrong. I'm just sitting there watching. Ain't no way in the world that shit going to work out. Doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to work out. It's too many problems. But if Papoose want to be the manager and talk to the entities and work all these deals, all right, cool. If you're managing her, what should the goal be, champ? It should not be control. That should not be the goal. Who are you, Janet Jackson? Control. The goal should be expansion. Claressa should be everywhere. Same way Jake Paul's doing with those women over on MVP. Claressa should be everywhere. A great manager should be asking, who else can help her? Who else can promote her? Who else can amplify her voice? Who else can create opportunities for big growth? The answer should never be nobody. We know what we're doing. All right, cool. The strongest management teams create independence. The weakest management team creates dependency. Claressa depends on Papoose. It's ridiculous. She wasn't like that, folks. And remember, I'm not sitting nothing aside with her attitude and everything. We know she's always had an attitude. People have come out and been talking about it. I'm just telling you, the shit got turned up to maximum heat when he got into the equation because he's created dependency in her and controlling her. Now, this is just my opinion. It seems that he's created dependency and control and has isolated her to where she feels she needs him. That's why she out here, my man, my this, and my that, and my this. It's crazy. She will fight over him. He ain't fighting over her. She will fight over that dude. She'd probably go to jail over him. Just because of how she's postured right now. But one thing for sure, those are extreme things, but one thing for sure, she sure as hell ain't blowing up in boxing. She's gone the wrong direction. Claressa was up and away, man. Now it's ridiculous. Now, if they got some big news, then cool. I'll be like, oh, something's working out, but haven't heard it. Since he hooked up with her, nothing. I made a little BS interviews because he got little connects here and there. That's low-hanging fruit shit. Anybody can do that. She ain't getting invites to go anywhere. This thing about, I'm going to save what I'm about to say for the next video. I'm going to save what I'm going to say for that. But the real question, man, is not whether Papoose is helping or hurting Claressa Shields, right? Because we could sit here and just have that conversation all day. And the reality is, I can sit here and just give my opinion and like optics of what I think I'm seeing and all that. But nobody outside their circle can answer anything definitively about whether he's helping or hurting her. We can just sit back and say, hey, in our opinion and our perspective from what we're seeing. But I'll say this. When fans start discussing missed opportunities instead of accomplishments, something shifted. And that's all I'm saying. Something shifted. And it seems to me like Papoose has blocked Big Goat's success. Claressa proved long before she met him she could conquer boxing. You know what I'm saying? Before she met him. So the challenge now is making sure her business profile, public image, and long-term legacy become just as successful as her career inside the ring, which I already think those things are already trashed. It's my opinion. But what she really needs is she needs expansion, collaboration, and relationship building, not isolation. I'm going to say that again. She needs expansion, collaboration, and relationship building, not isolation. Is it too late for Big Quote? And I already know about the attitude. Remember, I do videos. I know y'all don't need nobody to remember this. I don't need to remember nothing. I know what we're dealing with. Just enjoy the conversation. Enjoy the dialogue. And let me know what you think. But if you say, well, now hold your horses, you're taking the super, what do you think? I think too much damage has been done. But I do think if this was a man, nobody would, I put it, if this was a man, nobody would show sympathy to that dude. A lot of people say, if it was a man, he'd get away with it. Nah, they wouldn't give a shit about him. Let him fall on his face. Because she's a woman, I think that there may be someone out there willing to sympathize with her. You know what I'm saying? I do. I do think somebody may. But that person would have to be a little bit goddamn Sesame Street because she has done some ridiculous stuff, man. And it's awful. And it goes back before the Layla Ali stuff, but that really popped shit off for everybody. Then with fans, with just everything. Y'all know the story. So can she expand? Can she collaborate? Can she relationship build? While having Papoose in her life. She hasn't done it so far. What makes you think it's going to happen now? Y'all in the breeze.